So thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Joyce Chu and welcome to our webinar, How Storytelling Can Increase AUM. Lotte, if I could ask you to start sharing, we will get started. Still giving everyone about the next 15 seconds or so to log in and register. This is recorded, as some of you can see, and so we will have this available for any of your colleagues that you'd like to share this with, as well as for anyone who's missed it. We will send the link over via email and share on our socials as well. So thank you, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How Storytelling Can Increase AUM. My name is Joyce Chu. I'm Wealth Tech Specialist at InvestSuite, and I'm pleased to host this webinar that we've launched in conjunction with our partners, Javelin Research, Strategy and Research. Javelin is a US-based strategy and research firm and a trusted source for independent financial services, research and insights, especially in this current and ever-changing, increasingly digital world. So as you can see on our agenda today, I'll go over a brief introduction, and then I will introduce William Trout from Javelin to give a few insights on portfolio reporting from their point of view. And then we will introduce Lotte Verheyden, who is a product engineer at InvestSuite, who will talk about a revolutionary way of investment reporting and how we can do that, as well as a wide variety of use cases on how our solution storyteller could add value in this method of revolutionized investment reporting. And lastly, I will go over a brief introduction on InvestSuite for those of you who have not had the opportunity to learn about us thus far. So on to the next slide, just moving forward. So let's start off, before diving in, let's start off with a story that we all may know, the fable of the hare and tortoise. So for those of you who haven't heard it, quite simple. The hare teased the tortoise for being so slow and so challenged him to a race. The hare was overconfident in this race and had a lead, and so he decided to step aside and take a nap until the tortoise could catch up. But the tortoise continued on slowly and steadily, eventually passing the sleeping hare, who eventually woke up and couldn't catch up. It's a classic tale and one that resonates with us as human beings, one that teaches us a lesson all within the story. But if I simply gave you the pictures that you see on the page here, a turtle, a finish line, and a hare, only the components of the story without any narrative, you may not understand what that means, and nothing about this may resonate with you, aside from the fact that the animals are cute. But without the narrative, we don't get much. So my message today is a good story is really greater than the sum of its individual components. So this is where Storyteller, our solution, comes in. Why is traditional client reporting and communication just like this? It is one of the most regular client touch points, and one that happens at a time when activity has happened over a specific time period. So why is it like this? It is spreadsheet style, fragmented components with little or no meaning or relation to one another or the reader's current environment. Perhaps there might be some charts, some pie graphs thrown in, but really no narrative, as we say. So on to the next slide. This is why InvestSuite created Storyteller, the future of portfolio reporting. But before we dive in, I'd first like to introduce our colleague, William Trout, Director of Wealth Management at our partners, Javelin Strategy and Research, to really set the scene on what they've seen on portfolio reporting. And so then we can introduce to you our solution storyteller. William, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Joyce. It's great to be here. Thank you for that introduction. So if we move to the next slide, I'm happy to present some information based on some research we've done. We surveyed nearly 2,000 retail investors on how they like to communicate with their financial advisor around the topic of portfolio management and portfolio reporting in particular. So the question is simple. Thinking about the most recent time you reviewed your portfolio with your advisor, how did you communicate? And we're seeing a highly fragmented set of results, meaning despite emerging from the pandemic, you still see a significant proportion of investors preferring in-person meetings and even more, the traditional phone call. So you also see, though, the emergence of investors using video calls, often via third-party apps, which is interesting because in the US in particular, firms are trying to still get their arms around the use of WhatsApp, WeChat, and as you know, there have been a lot of fines, so to the tune of almost $2 billion. So this is an interesting landscape here, this fragmented use of channels. And if you go to the next slide, we can dive in a little deeper here. We actually, if you look at kind of the generational breakout, you see millennials aren't bothering to, call up or meet with their advisors in person so much as they're using email. So they may receive a report on their investment performance, their portfolio performance, and just respond back to the advisor or exchange thoughts via email. And I mean, to me, this calls for a totally new approach to portfolio analytics and portfolio reporting, one that's much more personalized than just a 1-page or 5-page document, but that speaks to the needs and allocation and portfolio construction required by the individual investor. And so that's my cue to hand back to you. And I think you're going to tell a great story. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you very much, William. And so now with that understanding of investors' preferences in communication, so what can we do, or what can you do to stay ahead and gain a competitive edge? So to tell us more, I'd like to introduce Lotte Verheyden, product engineer of the Storyteller solution at InvestSuite.
Thank you, Joyce, for the introduction. So we're going to talk about how a financial institution can gain a competitive edge by using storytelling in their investment reporting. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so in 2020, the Boston Consulting Group published the Global Asset Management Report. And in the reports, they describe 3 ways to win and retain clients as an asset manager. Firstly, you can compete on performance. By delivering better results, clients are also keen to invest with you. And the second way is by competing on cost. By lowering your costs, clients has to pay less, which is also always a positive factor in choosing the right party to invest with. Then the third way, and that is to compete on the client experience. Examples here are, for example, offering personalized portfolio solutions and also ways or mediums to improve client engagements. And this is where Storyteller comes in. And we'll come back to that later. Now, historically, on performance and cost, they have always dominated the industry, and both will, of course, continue to be relevant. However, there are also limitations to these 2 approaches. For example, not many asset managers have been able to deliver sustained outperformance. And also for costs, you can only go as low as 0, of course. So there are limitations on that as well. And we at InvestSuite, we share the beliefs of BCG. We strongly believe that the next wave of competition will be creating a better client experience that delivers a more comprehensive value proposition for the clients. So how does Storyteller now help with this? I would like to invite all of you to take a few seconds to think about the words that come to mind when thinking about how customers receive information about investments. And normally for a lot of you, these words can probably be used to describe the images that you can see on this slide. In InvestSuite, we are a B2B company, but we have a very clear focus on the end customer as well. We have done a lot of research on various topics, and one of this is around investment and portfolio reporting. We can sum up our findings on the current reporting methods in a few points. One is there is an overload in terms of information, and a lot of information is also generic to all clients. Also, you see a lot of spreadsheet style type of reports. You can also see it on this slide, for example, on the top right. You can clearly see it's a table with a lot of information. And also it is generally a non-digital experience, which does not make that much sense anymore in the times that we live in right now. Also, to take it further, about 90% of the people that receive this kind of reports don't even consider spending a few seconds of their time to read it. Also, yeah, just because it isn't that engaging. So how do we take this data and make it into a good actual user experience? Our society has been built on shared verbal histories for thousands of years, and humans are naturally wired for stories. If you take the current investment reports, the facts and data only activate the left side of our brain. And as you may know, the left side of your brain is the center of language and analysis. But on the other hand, we also have the right side of our brain that is responsible for creativity and intuition, and that can help us with bigger picture thinking. But this right side of our brain won't assist when reading a report if we leave it unstimulated. And stories are the perfect method to engage both the left and the right side of our brain. The information embedded in the story stimulates the left side of our brain, while the cohesive structure around the story stimulates the right side. And as a result, more of our brain is engaged. And the increased neural activity helps us make connections, which also results in clients picking up more of what we actually want to tell them. So imagine that we could apply these principles to create and share highly personalized, insightful, and engaging stories to explain the how and why of investment performance, and thereby promote the knowledge and wisdom with your clients. Storyteller is able to do exactly that. In a fully automatic manner, the report Storyteller is able to generate are hyper-personalized and also tailored to investments of an individual customer. And on top of that, variables, for example, such as risk profiles or levels of financial literacy, can also be taken into account to further customize the story to the way clients think about their investments. Also, consuming content in a digital way is an important trend, and we can't ignore that. And besides very appealing PDF reports that Storyteller can also make, we are also able to generate mobile and web responsive reports, and even in the form of a video. And we'll come back later to that in the presentation. Before we go into different use cases for Storyteller, let's make Storyteller a bit more concrete with a demo. So the demo that I'm going to show is a white label report for discretionary clients. So also the bank here, Capital Bank, is a fictional bank. And you will immediately already see a difference with the screenshots of the current reporting ways that we showed a few slides back. For example, here you already see we have a theme here. In this case, it's gardening. And we have a title that immediately captivates the user, and it really sums up what happened in this period. For this particular example, well-tended and thriving with strong roads, the performance of this quarter was positive for this client. We can also put the work of the experts at the financial institution to really give it more of a personal touch on the bank. And then we can go over what happened this period with the portfolio. We see what happened, but now how did it come to this? Well, first off, the European equity market helped you achieve your goal of good return, but the widening in credit spreads had a slightly negative impact. So here you can see, in this case, the client is our hero. What helped the hero in completing their goal or achieving their goal to have a good return is the positive momentum of European equity markets. But there was also an obstacle, and in this case, it was a widening in credit spreads. We also what we also try to do is take information and really try to summarize it and visualize it in an understandable manner. So as you can see here, you can see equity instruments contributed positively to the return. Fixed income, in this case, had a negative contribution. And then also an important thing is our sustainability reporting. And a good example of that is how we can make the data on ESG metrics more tangible for the user. So for example, here we say, compared to the companies in the MSCI World Index, the companies in your portfolio emit on average 161 tons of CO2 emissions less than those in the benchmark. And then we take this 161 tons of CO2 emissions, which is not really a magnitude that you can grasp. And we translate that into an example that is easier to grasp. So for example, here we compare it to the yearly absorption capacity of 8,050 trees. So you can immediately see that this example is really different from the current reporting that we showed before. And you may think that someone really took a lot of time to make this report for a specific portfolio. But actually, this report was generated fully automatically in only 30 seconds. So how does this work? Storyteller uses 4 engines that together can output a hyper-personalized and engaging story, as we just saw. To start with, we need input data. Storyteller is an API-based solution, so the data is sent to us in an API call. We only really need daily holding data of a portfolio for the reports, for the period that we report on. And with this, we can already generate a report. But of course, if you want to personalize it more, we also need more data about the person or the portfolio. For example, a risk profile, financial literacy, and so forth can all be sent to us in the API call. Then, with this data, the financial data engine retrieves financial data on the instruments of the portfolio via our connections to market data providers. Next to our existing connections to Morningstar and Refinitiv, the clients can also upload their own data via our APIs to make sure that the data used in other reports of this financial institution are the same data that Storytel uses in their report. Then, if we have this data, the insights engine calculates different insights variables. And there are a lot of possibilities for insights to be calculated. And some examples here are, for example, return calculations, performance attribution, as you saw in the example, but also ESG performance. We can also retrieve news articles to link that to the report, or a Monte Carlo simulation. And now that we have our data and we have our insights, now the story generation engine can start. And Storyteller uses a rules-based text template database to generate a story based on the insight variables that we just calculated. And why do we use a rules-based engine and not actual AI, like, for example, natural language generation? We have a very good reason for that. And that is because we want to give you full predictability of what text will be used in which scenarios, and also give you the possibility to incorporate tone of voice and compliance requirements. Next to this, Storyteller is also a language agnostic solution. So here at the right, you can see the text output is in English. This can be any other language. And then our last step is the visualization engine. Storyteller can generate a report in multiple formats. It can make a PDF, as we just saw, a web or mobile responsive report, and even a video. Our visualization engine creates a report for the right channel, and this is based on the content that the other engines that we just went over have generated. We already have seen an example of a PDF report. Now I'm going to show you a video version that we were able to automatically generate using our engines. I'm going to have to stop sharing and share again normally because it's another tab. Okay. So what you can see here is a demo of a video that we were able, so this is a video prototype that we made, but we are also already able to automatically generate this using our engines. And I'm also going to explain a bit how it works and how we make this into a scalable but still personalized solution. So there are a few components. And the first component here is our host, Emma, in this case. And Emma is a real person. And yeah, we really went to a recording studio and we recorded Emma saying different phrases or pieces of text based on the scenario. So here you see also the rules-based or scenario-based logic comes back. And Emma is really the person that ties everything, all the blocks together. So this makes it a real story. Let me show a piece of the
Emma,
movie.
and I'll be taking you through the last 6 months of your portfolio. Together, we'll explore how it performed, both from a financial and sustainability point of view, and we'll present you our outlook for the next couple of months. So let's get started. Looking back over the past 6 months, your investments did well overall.
Next to Emma, our host, we also, I'm going just to skip a bit ahead. We also have our, we also incorporated an expert of the financial institution here. In this case, he's called Thomas. To really incorporate that personal touch of the financial institution, but also to have a familiar face and also to show a bit what happens in the markets in that period.
Here to tell us more is our head of research and strategy, Thomas Smith. Thomas, enlighten us. What's been happening in the market over the past 6 months?
Thank you, Emma, and also a very warm welcome from my side. Global equity markets already posted decent returns for the first half 2021, primarily driven by the following 3 factors. Number 1, recovery in global earnings growth. Number 2, vaccination progress.
And next to the expert and the host, we also have our voice assistants. And this is where the real personalization in this case comes in. So our voice assistant uses a text. So we have a text engine, rules-based, and our voice assistant uses that text to say more personalized things about the portfolio. And in this way, we really make it scalable. Also, the figures that are shown, I'm going to show a clip in a second. The examples, the graphs that are shown are also really generated on the fly, specifically for that portfolio.
Allow me to introduce my digital assistant. Hi, Alex.
Hello, Emma.
Please show us what the year has brought so far in terms of performance.
Hello, Miss Brunner. Your portfolio did really well during the first 6 months of this year, with an astonishing return of $336,406 US. Your portfolio has really maintained its positive momentum.
And by using a combination of these 3 factors, so we have the personalized part of Alex, then the host that ties everything together of Emma, and then the expert, we create an engaging story that is still personalized, and we do that in a scalable way. Let me share the presentation again. Okay. And so for this video, we created now with a real host, but we are, unlike the natural language generation, we are looking at, for example, deepfake to incorporate that as well, to make it even more scalable. So we can, for example, replace Emma here, and just to get it to the next level. So for the next part, how can Storyteller be used in your financial institution? We have different use cases. Storyteller can be used both internally and externally. So externally is directly to the clients. A few examples here, we can make reports for fund managers or financial advisors. This is more internally, but also externally to single fund customers or advisory discretionary customers. Another example is pension clients. And here we see an example of a report for a single fund. Here, this page reports on the performance, and here you can see for a single fund, we have an ID card at the bottom with, for example, the Morningstar rating, the risk-reward profile. And then also important here is the sustainability reporting to show that the fund is considering sustainability. And the client can also feel good about if they invest in the fund that it is conscious about sustainability. Again, also we have the example of really making ESG metrics tangible. And here you also see a Monte Carlo simulation to show that if you put money in this fund, what could you expect to have in X years? So if a client is comparing different funds, a report like this can also make a difference because it really brings across what the fund is doing and it's easy to understand. And this can make the funds a more attractive option to invest in when choosing between different funds. Another use case example here is for discretionary portfolios. This is also very important to create personalized and also engaging reports to establish a feeling of trust here. Here we also see on this page, again, an ID card, but here we see different data, for example, the risk profile or their net deposit withdrawals and inception. This is also very customizable here. Then we also identify the hero, so the helper in the story, and the obstacles. And furthermore, we also have a Monte Carlo simulation, and that can really help the client see, okay, I'm doing something good, I'm growing my net worth. And the client can look forward to growing their wealth and put more money in, for example. And it's also a good reason to stay because you remind them that you are taking good care of their money, and the report is engaging, so they'll actually read it and be reminded of that. Then last case is pension portfolios, and also here it's really important to also educate the customer on the importance of saving for retirement, but also provide comfort and provide more information about, okay, what will I have or what can I look forward to, and doing that in an engaging way. So here in this example, you can see, we started with a simulation to show, okay, an optimistic or pessimistic scenario. What will I have once I retire? Also, an interesting page here is the last one. And here we show, for example, if you would increase your monthly contribution from 10% to 15%, what will be the difference in what you would have at the end of when you retire? And with this particular report, we also did research. And in that research, we found that 29.7% of the participants actually said that they wanted to find out how they could raise their monthly contributions after seeing the Storyteller reports. So this is Storyteller in a nutshell. We also hope you can see how it can help increasing not only your AUM, but also trust engagement, which is also very important. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will give back the word to Joyce.
Thank you, Latif, for that great overview, and of course the demos and video of Storyteller. Before we dive into any questions as well as comments, I'd like to give a brief overview on InvestSuite for those who have not had a chance to hear of us before. I'll keep it quite brief, just a couple of slides, and then we can take the last 10 minutes of the 45 minutes to do questions. So as you may have noticed from Storyteller, what we're actually doing is combining mind-blowing technology as well as amazing creativity to build delightful customer experiences. We do this through our powerful team where we have bankers, creative designers, Imagineers, computer, data, behavioral scientists, and mathematicians all in one place. And so really through that combination, we see ourselves as the Pixar of digital wealth management. So our vision of the industry is that the future of investing and retail investing in particular is that it will be increasingly digital, as we already see now, AI supported, so a combination of AI as well as human elements as well, hyper-personal, and as you may have seen in the industry, quite purposeful, and that is with respect to sustainability, environment, social governance, etc. So if we go to the next slide, so our purpose as InvestSuite is we give brands or enable brands and financial institutions the right tools to make investing accessible. So we're really democratizing wealth management with together and also improving financial literacy. We build the best InvestTech solutions in the world by combining that technical excellence, as I mentioned, with world-class creative talent. We allow financial institutions to stay ahead of the curve and thrive in an increasingly digital world. And what we are seeking to do is become the stewards of hundreds of billions of assets running through our system, the investment system across all continents globally. And really, our purpose is to aspire to be recognized as InvestTech's most innovative player. So this is essentially what we do. To drive our purpose, what we do is we build highly scalable AI-supported InvestTech solutions for financial institutions as well as companies in the embedded wealth space, so that they can stay ahead of the curve and thrive in an increasingly digital world. And on our next slide, as our name states, we offer more than just Storyteller. We offer a suite of solutions. All are white label, modular, and cloud-based. For front-end digital experiences, we have the Robo-Advisor offering hyper-personalized digital wealth management. We have Self-Investor, also an execution-only platform or online brokerage, as you can see, you can look at it. We talked about Storyteller, and lastly, you see our Portfolio Optimizer, which offers our proprietary risk methodology for portfolio construction and optimization. And as I mentioned, these are front-end experiences, but a lot of the components of our solutions is also available on an API-only basis through our Insights APIs. All right, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to that brief overview on InvestSuite. We will go over a couple of questions now that were asked in the Q&A box. So if you do have any other questions, please pop them in now. The first here is, Lotte, I'll pass this one to you. How will multi-asset funds be considered in your return attribution? You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so we can do a look through of a fund, so we can see in a fund what instruments are there, and also we can work with a lot of different instrument types. So or we can really look into the instruments that are in the funds and really see, okay, X amount or X percentage of that instrument, X percentage of that instrument, and we can retrieve all this information. What we can also do, if that's not possible, is our clients can just upload custom data, as you mentioned, and they can also upload composition data if that's all we need. So it depends a bit on what we will report on in the Storyteller reports, but we can really look on instrument level in the funds and also report on it.
Okay, perfect. And then that drives the return attribution. This was asked, and I think you kind of addressed it later on, but it was asked within your presentation, is the Storyteller report customized for individual clients?
Yes, yeah, indeed. So in the API, what you upload is really holdings of a particular portfolio. So per portfolio, you would get a separate Storyteller report. It's really only focused on what is in that particular portfolio. Also, if you have other things you want to personalize on, if you know other preferences about specific clients of you, we can definitely also incorporate it.
Awesome, thank you. And so can you comment on where AI is used then? Is that what's driving the text in there?
Yeah, so in the broader sense of AI, you can call it AI, but we don't, as we mentioned, we don't use machine learning like, for example, natural language generation. And the reason for that is because with natural language generation, you can't guarantee what comes out of it. And we don't want a person at the end of generating a report manually looking into every word that's said there. So what we do is we work with a rules-based engine, and for different scenarios, we have different outputs, and these can all be checked by also regulators, for example, to make sure that everything is compliant within the report, and also your tone of voice is used everywhere. Within this engine, so we have different scenarios. We also make it very granular. So two reports after each other shouldn't have exactly the same scenarios. But also for one scenario, we have different variations of text. So we really make sure that the user does not see the same text every time. So for the user, it really feels like it's written manually or with natural language generation. But for compliance reasons, we are sure every time that what we will show is according to the regulations.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. We actually, on the sales side, get that question. This looks great, but my compliance isn't going to accept it. But then when we explain, as you said very thoroughly there, that this they have full control and full oversight, then I think that gives a great confidence that something can still be engaging, still be personalized, yet still fly with compliance, which is, the biggest thing in financial services. I have a question here. Do we have an office in UAE? We don't have an office in there per se, but we are a completely remote global company, and we do have a multiple clients in UAE that have already launched some of our solutions. Robo-Advisor is actually launched there, and it's been quite successful. And furthermore, our other solutions have rolled out, and Storyteller will also roll out in UAE. So we can certainly service any institution that's interested from that market. But I'm more than happy to take that conversation offline if you have any further questions. Any other questions that anyone may have? Speak now. Otherwise, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'd like to thank William for joining us, and Javelin as well. Lotte for her great presentation, and for all the attendees, please follow us on LinkedIn or visit our website for our next updates. I have a question here that says how to contact. I will contact you specifically, but our contact information is actually right on the page here. You can contact me initially at joyce.chu@investsuite.com. But we do have, for those that attended today, we do have some of your contact details, so we can also reach out. But again, thank you so much. And please follow us on LinkedIn and keep up to date on our website.